Hey, so I'm about to mill the lugs off my Hellcat slide in order to fit the Holosun 507K. I've not done this before, haven't been able to find any videos teaching me how to do it, so I'm going to wing it using a couple tools that I have on hand. Got a standard metal file, a variable speed Dremel, and then there's 3 attachments that I've got so far. I'm going to start with the 9903 tungsten bit. Then I've also got 2 grinders. I'm not sure which one is going to work better or worse, but we'll find out. Those numbers are 83702, which is this little guy here, and then also number 932, just a different grinder. As you may or may not know, in order for the 507K to fit, the rear lugs on the slide have to go flush, and then we got to take a little bit off the top lugs. Obviously, I've already disassembled this. I've wrapped it up pretty good in painter's tape just to make sure that any dust that gets kicked up stays out of anything internal. I also tried to wrap it up in here pretty good too, just in case I slipped a little bit with the tool. I know the sight will probably cover most of that up, as would the plate, but just a little bit, and want to make sure that I keep things as clean as possible. So here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm going to start out on, let's see, I've got setting speed 1 on the Dremel, so we'll start with a little bit of a slow grind and see what happens. Okay, so not too bad. Still got a little bit left to go. I'm gonna do a little bit more on this one. This one on the left feels pretty good. This one on the side closest to the camera, I know it's hard to see here in the video, but still needs a little bit more work, and then I'm gonna try sanding it out and see if that bit does anything to soften it up a little bit. Okay, so now I just switched over to that 83702 grinding bit. See if this smooths it out. It's a little bit unclear. This might be a little bit too soft of a bit for this metal, but I'm just trying to smooth it out a little, so I'm hoping it'll do the trick. And I'm gonna go just a little bit higher speed on this one. Like I said, I've been on speed 1, which works really good for grinding. I'm gonna try to pick this up a little bit, so I'll put it on 2 here for this bit. So that is actually working really nice there. So I'm almost flush. I'm going to do just a little bit more to get those about where I need to be. There's hardly any left, just a few edges, a few jagged edges from the grinding bit. So I'm going to just try to smooth this guy off a little bit more right now. Get some of the dust out of the way. Yep, that looks and feels real nice all the way around. Not as pretty as I like it, but who cares, right? Got a plate and an optic to cover that up, but nothing crept around the edges, which is really what we should care about here. So I'm going to remove some of this tape here and then see how it sits in the front. Alright, so let's see how this guy fits. So we know that the rear lugs need to be flush. What we don't know is the exact amount for the front lugs, other than the fact that they got to come down a little bit. So this is where I'm just going to use that hand file. So both sides come down equally, ideally, and we'll just go a couple swipes at a time and see how we do. So for now, you can see that this guy in the back fits real flush, and it's up in the front, right in there. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but right in there, just a little bit, just enough to irritate your OCD when you're looking at. So we want to bring that down just a little bit. So all I'm going to do here is just to use a straight metal file, and then just go, I'm going to leave the tape here so I don't rub any more of the slide. I'm just going to take a little bit off by hand, and then obviously long enough file to cover both sides, so getting equal pressure to take them both down equally. Alright, we're just going to do a little bit at a time. All I've done here, I've just, as you can see, I just took a few, I don't know, a dozen or 2 dozen swipes or so, just enough to start taking some of that finish off the top. I'm going to put the optic back on and just go trial and error and see how it looks. So that is really, really close. I'm going to do just a little bit more, and the reason it's so close is because you can see on the optic here in the front, there are some spaces to accommodate lugs. They're just not deep enough to accommodate the height that's on the Hellcat. So I'm going to do just another half a dozen or so. A dozen, well, we'll see. We'll count them up here. All right. 2 dozen by my count. Drop this guy in there. And yep. I'm going to take it off camera, hold it up to the light. That's actually the secret right there. So the secret sauce, you're not going to see it on camera, but your secret sauce here as you're doing the front lugs, hold it up to the light. So get the optic to fit flush on there, hold it on as best you can, take the slide with the optic on top, hold it up to some daylight, and then you'll see what's shining through here, and you get a really nice line here. So I've got another couple dozen turns on the file here, and I think we'll be damn near exact. Alright, so it seems like this last little bit, I think once I got down in there, it seems, for whatever reason, my file doesn't seem like it's taking any more off. So I'm gonna hit it with that same 83702 soft grinding bit. I'm gonna just touch the top of these a little bit, and then I'm gonna even it off with the file just to get it right. Alright, so I just did a 10 count on each of those. So we're going to see if that, and then just even it off with the file just in case it was a little bit uneven. Alright, so finally after a lot of iterations, I did end up using the Dremel a little bit in between with that soft 83702 bit just to bring these front lugs down a little bit more. Then I went back over with the file to just even them off. Just a lot of back and forth till eventually, when you're holding it up to the light, you got the back lugs flush, the front lugs down just to the point where when you hold it up to light, there's no light showing through here. So I got mine perfect, actually, right where I needed to be. The only thing that I think that I screwed up on a little bit, well, I wouldn't say screw up, that I would have done differently, is I should have retaped these holes. All right, so the likelihood that there's some metal dust down in there is high. So the only thing I got to do now, and there's some videos on this, y'all can YouTube, Google, whatever, just to pop the back plate off, take out the internals here in the slide, blow that out with some air, rinse it out, give it a good cleaning, and then reassemble it, because we don't want any of that dust that got down into these holes to potentially affect any of the firing. So okay, so everything's clean. You can see here the front lugs have a little bit left. Back lugs are flush. Just a little bit of the machining from the Dremel, but nothing's going to be affected because the side's going to be covered. All I did here was just because I forgot to tape those holes, so disassembled the slide, took it apart, ran it under a bunch of water just to make sure there was no metal particles left, gave it a good soaking of some CLP, dried it out pretty good, reassembled it, and here we are. There's nothing to do now but put the optic on. Holosun 507K comes with 2 sets of screws. There's only 2 that are going to fit. It's going to be these back ones, and they're the short, fatter screws. So you can use the little screwdriver that came with the optic. The little 10x4 works just right. So all I'm going to do now is just set the optic and drop the screws in and tighten them down. And I'm not torquing it, I'm not cranking it, I'm just going tight. So there you have it, milling and the mounting of the Holosun 507K on a Springfield Hellcat. Have fun.